Much time has passed. Evil has returned.
What's up guys, Deroir here and welcome to another episode of Hype Time. So this last week has been quite heavy regarding Revenants, both with the beta test weekend as well as the announcement of the last core legend, Shiro Tagachi, a character that loads of us still remember from the original game. Now I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was very skeptical about the future of the Revenant before Friday's livestream, but I'll get to that in a bit. So let's start out with the specifics of this legend and what we've learned this week before we start discussing the future of the Revenant. First of all though, I have to mention that they made legend swapping instantaneous by default and they gave Revenants weapon swap. What? Admittedly, I'm simultaneously excited and worried about this prospect due to a number of different things, but again, I'll get to that in a bit. Now to begin with, along with the legend of Shiro comes the addition of dual swords to the Revenant's arsenal. The swords seem to finally provide Revenants with some much needed and promised combat maneuverability. The weapon skills associated with dual swords just seem really cool. First off, there's Rift Slash, which happens at the end of your auto attack chain. This skill creates a rift in the mists, much like we know from the Axe 5 skill, but instead of pulling, Rift Slash explodes, damaging foes in the area. Not only does this chain have slashing damage, it also allows you to boomerang your sword out for a good distance, to hit foes in a lot bigger range. I really like this idea of a multifaceted and very dangerous auto attack chain, slashing out some conditions and ending in a minor explosion. The next skill is called Precision Strike, which strikes your surrounding foes and throws out blades to both damage and chill your nearby enemies as well. The third skill is Unrelenting Assault. This is probably the skill that's got me most excited. Remember that super cool attack Ridlock performed in a trailer long ago? Yeah, this is it. You shadow step to the foes in your vicinity, striking them and gaining might for each foe you hit. So for each hit, you'll simply deal more damage. The fourth skill, Duelist Preparation, is a 2-second block, which if you're struck, transforms into an AoE Immobilize. And the fifth skill, Grasping Shadow, allows you to shadow step backwards and pull your target foe to you, much like having constant scorpion wires to single out your target. As for the utility skills, the heal skill associated with Shiro is called Enchanted Daggers, which summons jade daggers all around you that strike your target foe and siphon life from it. Now these don't exactly work like the usual summoning weapons or minions for that matter, but more like Ventari's tablet with no health bar, so your opponents won't be able to simply counter your healing skill by killing the daggers. So in essence, whenever you attack, you'll simply hit twice and siphon some life. Next up is Riposting Shadows, which lets you evade backwards, break stuns, and cures debilitating conditions. This partnered up with Phase Traversal, which shadow steps you to your target and makes your next attacks unblockable, makes for a killer combo. I mean, just Phase Traversal in and of itself seemed quite awesome. With its lowish energy cost, you can easily stack up some quick unblockable attacks. It's like the Thief's Steal skill that I'm so used to, but with a guaranteed unblockable buff no matter what foe. Also, this skill can be cast a hell of a lot faster though, if you manage your energy correctly. Third utility skill is yet another throwback to the original game, Impossible Odds. This is the upkeep skill for Shiro and allows you to constantly apply quickness and super speed to yourself. Wow. As for the elite skill, we have the skill named Jade Winds, which alludes to the original game again. When Shiro died the first time, the energy that was released from him turned the sea into jade and the forest into stone. So naturally, this skill basically does the same thing, just on a much smaller scale. Once activated, you'll turn nearby enemies into jade, much like a 600 range AoE Basilisk Venom. This is so amazing. This skill can even be traded to activate when you get downed, which offers up some great potential to gain a bit extra time to save yourself or your party members. As for the other traits, let's just say the new Devastation line coming with Shiro offer up some much needed damage modifiers as well as some other really cool ones. I won't touch on those now though, but I left a link in the description down below for you to check out. Now the thing about Shiro and any legend in general is that you don't actually need to equip the legend to get the goodies from the traits or weapons. The power from the Devastation line can easily be used for a completely different legend. The legend of Shiro himself seems to me to lean much more towards PvP or world vs world roaming or general solo instances, with impossible odds being the most useful skill in Shiro's arsenal in a PvE setting due to the fact that stacking is still a thing and you generally don't want to leave the stack by shadow stepping in and out of it, and quickness basically being everywhere already with more to come. Invoking Shiro doesn't actually have much to bring to a group scenario before the encounters in Guild Wars are changed. Still, all in all, everything that Shiro now brings with him still looks the most promising out of all the ones we've seen, but perhaps that's just because I was sorely underwhelmed by the Revenant's overall power and usefulness. By now, it probably comes as no news that Revenants were way underpowered and basically useless in an overwhelming number of scenarios during last weekend's beta test. First off, they lacked power, like bad, which hopefully will be fixed to a certain degree with Shiro and the addition of swords and his traits. Still, that won't be enough. The base damage for the rest of the weapons is horrible and it wasn't exactly outweighed by the usefulness of their specific skills. Secondly, they lacked utility since many effects were bugged or just lackluster. Healing power scales so poorly and already isn't really useful in most current scenarios, and what good is extra damage per condition when the conditions kill you due to it being close to playing the piano to keep up enough resistance to stay alive and not get crippled by yourself? Also, the outgoing conditions were poorly used and only got compromised by the new displacement skills that simply throws any mobs out of its position without even affecting the stacks of defiance on bigger mobs.
Wow, that looks weird.
That's so
That looks so freaky.
Well, just as Friday's livestream ended, Roy Kronager posted an enormous list of things that have already been changed for the revs due to the feedback from the beta event. Again, I left a link down below with all the goodies, but my personal favorite changes are stuff like Mace getting a lot more viable condition ticks added to it, the newly added damage modifying traits for the invocation specialization, and best of all is all the number tweaking for the demon stands as well as the entire corruption line. It looks good, but those numbers aren't everything. What really boggles my mind is the fact that the Revenants still lack any real customization even with the newly added weapon swap. Since every single utility skill is shoehorned into each legend themselves, and since an overwhelming number of these skills seem very niche, most of these skills you bring into any fight may simply be redundant. Excluding any elite specialization, Revenants will have access to two-handed staff and hammer, main hand sword and mace, and offhand sword and axe. A total of 5 different weapons with 3 of them being single-handed. They'll have access to 4 legends, Malix, Jalis, Ventari, and Shiro, and only 2 of these can be slotted for combat at a time. These legends all have 1 heal and 1 elite skill, as well as 3 utility skills each, which accumulates to a total of 12 utility skills, 4 elites, and 4 heal skills, or a grand total of 2 times 5 weapon skills, 6 heavily predetermined utility skills, 2 heal skills, and 2 elites for any combat situation. If we were to compare that number to engineers or elementalists who don't have weapon swap like revs were supposed to have, I simply have no clue how the guys at ArenaNet ever thought they could get away with not having weapon swap for Revenants, or at least interchangeable utility skills, which, to be honest, I probably would have preferred a whole lot more than the weapon swap. Though, of course, in and of themselves, the introduction of dual swords, or simply put, 2 more single-handed weapons, can offer up just a smidge of this much needed flexibility to the weapons that the Revenant can now wield. I especially like the idea of the sword-axe combo providing great maneuverability on both weapons. Admittedly, before the introduction of Shiro, with his overall useful utility skills and awesome traits, I really didn't see how Revenants would manage to fight for viability in this game at all.
I really want it to be good. I don't know if it's actually going to be viable in any way.
But tell me guys, do you think Shiro can save the Revenant? Tell me in the comment section down below. Personally, I'm putting a lot of faith in the devs at ArenaNet to crunch those numbers and get the Revenant in line. I really want Revenants to succeed. I really want this to be a part of my main arsenal. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I simply can't wait to test the Revenant out again. But that's all I had for you guys this time. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, I will see you in the mists.